So today I'm going to be telling you how I introduce the parts of a guitar. So for a lot of times students have never seen musical instruments or seen a guitar before, and some inquiry questions I ask is how many strings are on the guitar? And they'll say a bunch of random numbers. Sometimes they'll get 6, and then you can point out the parts of the guitar. So these are the tuning pegs. It might seem obvious to someone like yourself, but these are not obvious things to someone who's never seen a guitar before. So you count with them. Obviously, you wouldn't be counting with like grade 10 students, but anything under grade 7, I would count, go like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's right, there's 6 strings on the guitar. Ask them if they notice anything interesting on this, and they'll say, oh, there's metal things, or there's things going across the board. And then you can say, this is called the fretboard, and these metal things are called frets. And then I always ask them to repeat it. So can you guys say frets? And then they'll say frets. Exactly. Can you say fretboard? And then they'll say fretboard. Yes, exactly. And then what I do is I get them to count with me. So if they have guitars or ukuleles, this can work with any stringed instrument. I'll get them to put their finger right here and say 1. So this is them counting the first fret. And we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then usually when I get to 5, I say, now you guys finish counting on your own how many frets are on the guitar. And then they'll go 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, blah, 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 blah. And then I get them to move their finger like this around it, up and down it, to just kind of feel that it's an actual, like a hard thing. And then that would be the fretboard. I also point out the sound hole and the strings. So I'll get them to like go like that on the strings and notice how this one's low and this one's high. So we'll kind of talk about low and high notes. And then I'll move on to the actual names of the strings. So this is really fun. I'll usually write it up on whatever it is, a chalkboard or a piece of paper. And we'll write the notes, E, A, D, G, B, E. And then I get them to come up with their own fun kind of words to help them remember. Like, every alligator deserves good bacon every day. Or whatever it is they come up with, and then that really helps them remember the names of the notes of the strings. So those are some fun things that I do to introduce things. After I've introduced the strings and the tune, all the kind of components of the guitar, I will talk about how I'm going to instruct. So I'll explain that music is like a language, and we just need to have a similar terminology. So just like I wouldn't be able to understand somebody speaking Cree if I don't know the Cree language, or somebody speaking French if I don't know how to speak French, we're just going to be learning the same language. So I get them to put up their left hand and count their fingers 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is how I'm going to be telling them which fingers to put onto the fretboard. Similarly, sometimes I also do index, middle, ring, and pinky. This gets a little bit, not everybody knows index, middle, ring, pinky. So you'll see in where is thumbkin, that's a fingers game that can get kids understanding where their fingers are. There's also different ways to explain fingers where you can say, this is sister, brother, auntie, like they can name their own fingers. Sometimes, and it happens with a lot of like younger students or students, when they go to the middle finger, that can be like a bad finger. And a lot of times they don't want to use that finger to they don't want to, because of maybe they've gotten in trouble using it before, it's been used against them. So just be aware of that. And what I say is the middle finger in music is not a bad finger. And then I'll just be explaining how, look, your middle finger needs to go right here. It has a really important role. So it's not a bad finger in music. So yes, it's 1, 2, 3, 4. And we've gone over the frets are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And when I'm teaching beginner guitar, you really don't go over the 3rd fret. So this just 1, 2, and 3. Another way that you can teach the strings is E, A, D, G, B, E. You can make up that name. You can also number them. So this is a lot of how tabs are written out, or how you want to explain it. If they don't quite have the E, the low E string, the A, if they don't know that yet, you can just go 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So I'll get them to say it with me, like 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And I'll do all kinds of things. Like you can get them to like crouch down low when they hear a low note and crouch up high when they hear a high note. And we'll go 6, 1. So they get that the low note is the number 6 and number 1 is the highest. Because it's kind of backwards to your brain. Like this should be number 1. And when I first started teaching, I would teach this as number 1 because I didn't know there was already a system in place. So I don't do that anymore because that just confuses them. So this is 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, well, I'm going to tell you about the first chords that I teach students. I found this works really well for me. You might have different chords that you like to teach, and that's totally okay. This is just a method I found works well for me. So I always start off with the E minor chord because I find it's really easy to jump to the G and the C from that. So what I'll do is I'll get the students to identify their number 2 and number 3 finger, or index and middle, whatever is working best for that student. And I'll get them to put it on the 2nd fret, on the 5th string, and the 4th string. So I'll do that. Sometimes I go around the classroom, you'll actually physically move their fingers, if it's okay. You always ask permission before you touch a student. And even getting into their bubble. When you're teaching music, it can be really close, and so you always ask, is it okay if I move your finger? Is this distance okay with you? So I'll get them to put their fingers on the 2nd fret, and I'll just get them to start off. We're just going to do 4. We're going to count to 4 and strum. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. And most students can do that. You can count to 4 and strum at the same time. Now there's a bunch of different ways. We're going to get into different strumming methods in a different lesson, but just any way that they want to make a sound across the strings. 1, 2, 3, 4. And you say again, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. And you just get them to do that. Actually get them to physically say the word. 1, 2, 3, 4. If they're not comfortable with that, which some of them aren't, you can just say, you can mouth it to yourself, or you can think it in your head, or you can just listen to me say it. But while they're doing it in any of the music, the songs you're teaching, you really want to drill that 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 over and over. So I just go, okay, all right, everybody, let's strum together, and we'll just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and they'll get that, and it'll be sounding great. And then you'll be like, woohoo, good job. Now we're going to go on to our 2nd chord. I can't believe you learned that so fast. And the way I teach the G chord from here is you just take that middle finger or that 3rd finger and you just jump it up. You just jump it up to the 3rd fret of the E string or the 6th string. And the pinky or the ring finger to make that full chord can be very difficult at the start. Don't even teach that. Just go, okay, just strum that. And we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you'll be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you already learned your 2nd chord. And then we'll say, okay, we're going to jump back to the E minor. Now the only trick with jumping back to the E minor, you kind of have to scooch this index finger a little bit, or else they'll just go like that, and then you're going to be on the wrong fret. I also talk about how you don't want the fingers on the actual fret. A lot of times they'll put it on the fret, and you kind of say like, nope, that's an illegal line. Like you have to kind of like stay on that side, or however you want to explain it, that you need your fingers on this side. So then you'll go back to the E minor, and you'll say 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and then you'll say switch, middle finger up to the top 3rd fret, and then they'll move it, and then you 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, switch, and then they'll go back, and then all of a sudden you're playing a song. And at this point, it doesn't take kids very long to do this. And if you can see, like sometimes their finger is actually like, everyone learns at different speeds, but sometimes a student's finger will be ready to go, or they'll have their ring finger. Once they get going, you can say, oh, well, you can try to put your pinky down there. But if they try it and they can't do it, they don't even need to do that right now. You just want to hook them really quickly in playing something. So we'll go back to E minor. And I always sing, you know, kind of in the tone of the chord, because then it makes it very easy to hop to just making up your own lyrics to it. So here we go. I count the students in as a big group. So I'd say, ready? Here we go. 1, 2, 3, go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Switch. Middle finger up. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Switch. And we just keep doing that. And then you can make up any kind of lyrics. I also write, you can go, I mean, a simple song is so dorky, but it's like this. E minor chord, E minor chord, switch to G, G chord. You can do that just so that they get to kind of knowing what kind it is. And it's super easy to be like, playing guitar in music class in Stanley, Michigan. Just, you know, just kind of throw out whatever you see if you're comfortable with that. If not, you can just say 1, 2, 3, 4, switch. Now, the next chord I do after this one is called a simple C. And what you can do is you can just move, and this is if it's okay for you to touch their fingers, or you can just say, just jump down. So you can just jump everything down, and that's your simple C. And that'll get you playing more songs right off the hop. Because if a student doesn't find it any success in the first little while, they're not going to keep practicing. So is that a full C? No, it's not the full C, but a full C is very hard to learn, you know? So then I'll say, jump down to the C. So we'll just jump down. And I do find most students let me touch, like, I haven't had a student not want me to touch their fingers. It's just good practice. I'll jump it, I'll move it, because it's memory recall, right? And their fingers have no idea what to do. So I'll go C, G, C, G. So I'll just get them to practice going between the C and the G. So G, 2, 3, 4, G, 2, jump down to C, C, 2, 3, 4, C, 2, 3, jump up to G, G, 2, 3, 4, G, 2, jump down to C, you do it like that. So those are just the chords that I start off teaching. I know some people start off with the D. I find it, kids' fingers, it's kind of a little bit more difficult, but you can start the same thing. You'll say middle finger or the third finger, second fret on the first string or the E string, and then you can do it like that. And then they can just get strumming. Like that, your A chords, so on and so forth. So that's how I teach the basic chords.